Greetings everyone, this is Force Nature of Top Tier Tips, and I welcome you to your prime spot for tips and tricks to help you level up at DOA6. Alright, in our last session we took a look at wall pressure. In this session we're going to be looking at the ground game, also referred to as Okizeme, or just Oki for short. What Okizeme in the ground game refers to is basically any time during a match when an opponent gets knocked down, then you have to deal with Oki. Alright, as you can see right there, when you knock the opponent down, they can end up using a comeback wake-up kick to be able to attack you. That right there is like a mid-kick option. So at the most base level, when you get a knockdown with the opponent, they're going to maybe try and wake-up kick you. So some ways to deal with the wake-up kick is that you can just simply block it, then the opponent will be left at negative frames, but mid wake-up kicks are not punishable. Low wake-up kicks are... A low wake-up kick though is punishable. I can just show you right now for an example. See right there, you can end up doing a low throw. You can end up doing a low throw to punish a low wake-up kick. But for instance, let's say if the opponent was going to do like a mid wake-up kick, or for example, some things that you can do. Of course, you have your mid hold right here. Another thing that you can do is space it out and whiff punish it like so. And also, generally, what I do recommend with regards to Oki is simply anytime that is to try and get hard knockdowns, where if you play like a grappler character, you can get like a free guaranteed ground throw, for instance. Another option you can use to deal with low wake-up kicks is after you get your knockdown, you can easily just low crush. You can easily just use some sort of jump move, low crush, and then whatever, if you get a follow-up, then go for it. But the main thing is that moves, good jumping moves do tend to be good for dealing with like low wake-up kicks, for example. With the move details on, which I'm going to put on right now, you can easily end up telling like which moves, for instance, have like jumping frames. Just look at the part that says status. You see it goes, so I go from standing, jumping, to crouching. So what that crouching means is that I'm in like, well, basically a crouch. That means that for the opponent to punish it, they would have to do something that can hit a crouching opponent, such as like a low throw, and of course like a mid attack can hit it also. And as you can see right here, 7k for like Tina is also a good jumping attack. But generally anything that has the status that says jumps, lows, that will beat out or it should beat out the low wake-up kick. However, keep in mind that moves are not necessarily like instant jump-in or are necessarily jumping through the entire thing. Sometimes you'll have to keep in mind for when the status actually says jump-in. So right here, the move, as you can see, is jumping throughout most of the animation, but as you can see at the end, it's just, like I said again, it has crouching. So you have to be mindful of what frames are jumping and what frames are basically, well, in this case, not jumping, so either still standing, still crouching. So those are some things you have to keep in mind for if you're looking for like good jump-in, low crush moves to add to your arsenal. Crushing mid wake-up kicks is a lot harder because, of course, they end up hitting mid. But some characters do have moves that can crush mid. You'll have to use a little bit of experimentation to be able to find like which ones can. Like some characters, like you see Tina's 1k right here, can go under mid wake-up kicks. Well, if you can like do it early enough. See, at the end there of this animation, it does go under mid wake-up kicks, because if you end up, like I said, with looking for low crush and stuff, like the frames of like for crushes and anything like that can vary quite a bit during the animation. So sometimes when you think a move says like basically crouching or is jumping and it doesn't work, you have to be kind of mindful of, again, like I repeat, of where the frames are. But if your character does have like good low crushes, then I mean, or in this case a good mid crush, then feel free to heavily implement that into your playstyle, because it's generally going to be a pretty good tool. As I mentioned earlier, I highly recommend trying to find moves that can set up hard knockdowns with your characters. I mean, it's particularly heavily useful and also pretty integral to the playstyle of grappler characters. But even for striker characters, like getting anything that can set up a hard knockdown can be just like really useful. I mean, like, again, you usually just get a free ground attack attempt, which is always good to Basically, just to get a little like extra damage, and anything you can do to try and like anything you also can do to try and limit your opponent's wake up kick is also like really good. Like if you do really like if you do like ground throws or anything like that, along with like Tina or Dang, Bass basically has a move where he has this where he just basically picks the opponent up after any hard knockdown and basically kind of like avoids the ground game like altogether with that. So if you are interested in an Oki based playstyle, like a character like Bass, or even like there's other ones of course like Mila or like Damon, like there's a bunch of other ones. So and like I mean I think that out of all of them, Bass probably ends up foregoing the Oki game the most. But basically the less that you kind of deal with wake up kicks, the better. But there's also kind of also like characters like Ayane, for instance, which have moves that can like easily with punish wake up kicks too, which is always good. So but when evaluating your character's tools, see which ones can be good for either for control in the ground game, such as like getting like hard knockdowns, attacking the opponent on the ground, or just simply with just heavily discouraging the opponent from doing wake up kicks just by whiff punishing them well.
Get up, you lazy bum! Get up, you lazy bum! Tina!
You're done! Go! Right! Let's go!
Aside from your usual run-of-the-mill hard knockdowns, another thing that you can go for is called a force tech. I mean, it's something that's unique to DOA and DOA6, although admittedly they're harder to come by in DOA6. What it is that you basically force the opponent off the ground automatically, so they can't lay on the ground or anything, can't wake up kick you, and you basically forego the wake up kick like altogether. I mean, the force tech setups here are a bit harder to find in DOA6, but they still exist. You just have to kind of search for them. See, right here's an example of a force tech setup. You see, the final hit of my setup ended up forcing Ayane up. So basically, by doing that, you can end up pressuring the opponent again while standing up. I mean, it does create a bit of space, so you have to kind of like look for moves that end up like reaching the opponent to make sure. But luckily, someone like Tina does have a 16 frame offensive hold that you can usually sneak in on your opponent most times after it until they catch on and start like punishing for you. And that's what, of course, when you start to mix up with like mid attacks, for instance. Let me show you that force tech setup again now with the move details on. Alright, so you see right there that you're at +9. So with +9, that ends up meaning that you basically get buttons. So, I mean, anything that's like around maybe like 17, 18 frames or so should pretty much beat out almost anything that your opponent's gonna do. But of course, you have to be careful, mindful of the space, make sure you don't like end up like whiffing like I ended up saying there before. But yeah, but with like a +9, you basically get like control over your opponent. So it's still a good option for just avoiding the like wake up game like altogether. But again, like with like grappler characters who just really dominate the Oki game in DOA6, even going for a hard knockdown is fine, because when you end up going for your ground throw, even if the ground throw whiffs, it's not bad, because what you're basically doing, you can basically just keep doing it until the opponent basically techs up. So essentially, if you have a ground throw, it's not really as important to search for like force tech setups. But I mean, of course, striker characters don't really, except for like Mila, generally don't get ground throws. So like with striker characters, you have to either choose to either see how you can try and set up a force tech or your hard knockdowns, or basically just see how well you can like punish wake up kicks. Like more ranged characters such as like an Ayane, like a Hitomi, like Hayate, those type of characters are better suited for whiff punishing wake up kicks as opposed to like going for hard knockdowns. But that's basically, you have to just kind of see what the playstyle of your character is to see if they're better for going for like Oki or ground game, or if they're better for just focusing more around the neutral game. The reason why I recommend going for hard knockdowns is because the opponent is unable to perform a tech roll after a hard knockdown. If you do something that doesn't cause a hard knockdown, the opponent can tech roll. That right there is a back tech roll. If I do go for something that causes a hard knockdown, as you can see right there, the opponent cannot tech roll, and they can basically either just lie on the ground or just get up on the spot. So basically, I mean, so as you see right there, there's another strength of a hard knockdown as you take away the tech roll. From the defensive side of things, when you get knocked down by your opponent, the first thing I recommend is to go for a tech roll, such as a back tech roll. If you need to reposition yourselves in the stage so you don't get like backed into a corner, then I recommend side tech rolls, like whatever side is more preferable for you. Especially when you back the opponent into the corner, they're gonna try and side tech roll on you. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but you just have to try and keep in mind that that's what they're gonna try and do. Like if you have someone back in the corner, they're gonna be less likely to wake up kick you, unless after a knockdown you're like whiffing buttons or anything like that. But the main thing is that if the opponent does a tech roll, and if you don't whiff anything that's too much recovery, then you're generally going to be at advantage, and then you can just like keep pressuring the opponents like however you please after that, because you should be at considerable advantage after a tech roll. So that's always good though. Just be careful if you end up like whipping too many buttons and you end up leaving yourself at negative after a tech roll, and then the opponent can end up attacking you back. So basically, when you do get knocked down, then you end up tech rolling first. But if the opponent is like whipping buttons, then feel free to just lie down on the ground to your heart's content and wake up kick them until they end up first punishing your wake up kicks and not letting you wake up kick them for free, or number two, if they like end up going for like free ground hits or anything like that, whether it be like the free like jump pounce or something like that, where you're forced to have to like go for a tech roll, or basically, or just simply just kind of like or even just kind of like hitting the opponents on the ground for free or anything like that, then yes, you're gonna have to do a tech roll to be able to avoid those things. Alright guys, that's it for now. With regards to DOA6's Okizeme, you have to keep in mind if you want to go for, if you basically want to focus around just having kind of ground pressure with either ground strikes or like ground throws or force techs or anything like that, or if you want to have a playstyle that's just simply knocking, basically for instance just like knocking the opponent away or something like that, and basically just like controlling the neutral. I mean, characters that are good for either blasting back, again like a Hitomi or like Ioni type characters, those ones can like focus around like playing the neutral and don't really have to focus too much on going for like really suffocating Oki or suffocating like ground game pressure or anything like that. But yeah, anyways, if you have any further questions, feel free to contact me on my YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, so that means leaving a comment down below. You can also contact Force Nature on freestepdodge.com. And be sure to check out my other guides. I'm motoring along now through these top tier tips advanced guides, and I'm also motoring along through the character guides. I've now officially finished 2/3 of the cast, so that's pretty awesome. And if you'd like to support the channel, feel free to join Top Tier Fighters. The support does help, and I do appreciate it. But anyways, this is Force Nature sign off. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on Top Tier Tips.